I was raised a vegetarian, two vegetarian parents, so this is just like a normal thing. It's like clean your room, be polite, don't eat the animals, normal. And when you grow up this way, there's a thing that happens, which is you just don't like the taste of meat that much. And in fact, there is one meat that I find repellent at a distance. It is ham. I hate ham so much that I went to a graduation party for a pretty good friend, and it turned out it was a pig roast, and I had to leave because I couldn't occupy the same room with like this sickly, sweet smell of death. Now, like I suspect a lot of polite vegetarians, I worked for the Obama campaign. I was in an office in Reno, and my job was the lowest level on the campaign. I'm the guy who has to call on a weekly basis several thousand people I do not know. I'm the guy who's responsible for showing up at your door with a clipboard, a couple hundred people I have to knock. I'm supposed to get house parties where people invite their friends over so that I can tell them what an amazing person Barack Obama is. And that was going fine in most places except one particular place that was in my turf. That place is called Virginia City, and it is about a 45-minute drive from Reno. And it is up one road that is like a Mazda commercial. Hairpin turns, beautiful views, minimal guardrails. It is, in fact, so frightening that there is a sheriff's special team to drive tourists' cars back down because they are too afraid to do it themselves. I loved the road. I had no problem with that. My biggest issue was that anytime I went there, I had to block out like an hour and a half out of my otherwise busy day. And I actually did have to go there because I had, in a 30-mile radius, one volunteer. Her name was Debbie. I loved Debbie, but she had a bad knee. So she would make the phone calls. Bless her. But she couldn't go to the doors. So any door that was going to get knocked, this guy was going to do it. And this was a particular challenge because Virginia City is populated by the sort of people who are so fiercely independent that they will not let the dang government tell them what their address is. You can go down a street and consecutive houses, I am not making this up, 345, 28, 15, 64. This is awesome. So this one particular Saturday in December, I decide I'm gonna knock out the whole town. Every Democrat in this place, I am gonna go to their door. I pack myself a lunch, which is a power bar. I drive up there in the early morning, I'm at the doors. I go without stopping for like 6 to 8 hours. It is so cold that my pen freezes in my hand and will not write. And I have to rotate them into my shirt pocket because my pants pocket is too cold to thaw them out. So the sun sets, it becomes frigid. I have one thing left to do before I tuck tail, go back to the office and admit to my boss that yet again, I am the reason Barack Obama will not be the president. I have to bring these call lists to Debbie's house so that she can make the phone calls that she makes because she has a bad knee. Debbie comes to the door, she sees me, she says, "Oh my God, you look like a popsicle. Come inside." I come inside. Debbie has guests over for dinner. And I'm like, this is a house party that I did no work to achieve. So I go from the worst day to the best day immediately. They're about to sit down to dinner. Debbie brings me over. She puts me in her place at the head of the table. She explains who I am and what the hell I'm doing here. And her guests are like actually interested. They're asking me pertinent questions like, I thought that guy was a Muslim. And was he even born in America? And I'm like starting to answer their questions. This is familiar territory. And then I see over the heads of the guests that Debbie is leaning into the oven, and she pulls out in a billow of steam the most enormous ham that I have ever seen in my life. And right about then, my nose thaws out. And I discover the kind of fear that makes a grown person ask the sheriff to drive their car somewhere. And 95% of my brain is working on the problem of how do I get out of this room with Debbie still liking me, with voters still liking me, and without putting a dead animal in my mouth. And I'm also having this feeling of all of the things that I care about, like the war in Iraq is never gonna end. The polar bears are gonna drown because there'll be no more icebergs. The arc of the moral universe will not bend toward justice. And not having a lot of experience with this as a kid, I'm also discovering you cannot hide ham under applesauce. So I come rapidly to the conclusion that there is one way this is gonna go. Barack Obama is personally depending on me to eat the ham. And I don't even know how. So I'm watching other people. I'm okay, we cut it into cubes. You put your fork in it. You bring it to your face. I would like to tell you how every bite went, but I literally do not remember. The next thing I remember is my empty plate and Debbie saying, "Oh my God, you must be starved. Let me get you seconds." At which point, my brain catches up and I finally come up with the right thing to say. And I'm very proud that I did not lie. I looked her straight in the eye and I said, "Debbie, I really got to get back to the office, but that was the best ham I have ever had in my entire life."